All right. Now, with the reason why we are here today, I'm going to introduce Nimi Bello, who is a principal Agile consultant and a good friend of mine. And I will let her give you her background. So Nimi, take it away.
Thank you, John. I appreciate it. Thanks, everyone. Thank you. I'm gonna go ahead and share real quick. All right. I might need you to next for me, but we're good for now. Hi, everyone. Like John said, we're a really good friend of mine, and John actually is one of my advisors for Lincoln Power. Somebody was asking about Lincoln Power earlier. So John is an amazing resource to Lincoln Power. He gets me to all the events, so he's a good friend to have. So if you scan the QR code, it'll take you to my LinkedIn. So it's going to give you everything you probably like. What does she do? Who is she? So I made it really easy for you all today. All you got to do is just scan the QR code. It's going to take you right to my LinkedIn profile. So before we get started, I'm going to do a quick icebreaker. So when you go to my LinkedIn, I want somebody to tell me what is one of the companies that you see that I worked at before. I'm going to give you a minute.
Deloitte.
Deloitte, okay. Lincoln Power. Lincoln Power, okay. Okay. All right,
Come on, folks.
Capital One. Capital One, okay.
Where'd the Capital One?
I did. I popped around a little bit. I'm testing y'all Lincoln, your LinkedIn gangster. So let me see if y'all are actually going to LinkedIn and connect with me. I actually do talk to people on LinkedIn. So if you connect with me, yes, HD Supply is one of them. Auto. Yes. So I popped around a little bit. So I wanted y'all to go to my LinkedIn just to kind of get an understanding of my background. So you can see I've done some stuff in startup. I've done some stuff in mid-level organization, and I've done some stuff in enterprise level organization, and pretty much worked across all industries. So now my current role, I am in consulting, which was a natural progression. It's like, okay, I've done retail, done finance, done automotive, just you name it. I've pretty much done it in different capacity as it relates to Agile, leading transformations, implementing Agile. So everything you can think of that happens during a transformation, I've lived it. And then 2020 was when Lincoln Power came into play. And Lincoln Power is simply just a global ecosystem that just connects different individuals, which is why John is really, really essential to the Lincoln Power ecosystem. Just having access to a great network of people, because again, having collaborative partnerships, strategic partnerships are really, really important, especially as you progress in your career. So without further ado, we'll get started with the workshop. Next slide for me, please. All right, so today I want to spend about 30 minutes doing a deep dive on Agile. And a lot of people hear Agile and people get scared of the word Agile, but Agile is your friend. Agile is what has helped us go through COVID and pivoting. Right now, we're able to work remotely, and it's primarily because of agility, if you think about it. A lot of companies have pivoted to business agility. It is a focus. It's not going anywhere. So I really want people to start to get comfortable with embracing agility, because it's something that helps you with scaling your business, scaling your ideas, collaborating with teams efficiently. It truly works. There's a lot of data out there that I won't bore y'all with today, but it truly works if you implement it the right way. So we're going to focus on 3 things today. I want to talk about the key principles and values of Agile. We'll get into some case studies. I am a practical teacher, so we are going to actually do an exercise just so that it can actually stick. I heard somebody talk about fashion, and I love that, because there is something called Agile entrepreneurship also too, which is something that is being developed and new in the market. So you can definitely implement these things into your day-to-day business too as well. Value and impact of Agile. Next slide, please. So who can tell me what is Agile? It's on the screen. Anybody?
Agile is a collaborative and interactive approach.
Uh-huh. Okay.
It was on the screen.
It was on the screen. That's why I made it easy for y'all. It was on the screen. Okay. Anybody else?
It provides flexibility, customer feedback, and continuous improvement.
Nice. Okay. Anything else that is not on the screen? Or even a word that comes to mind when you hear about Agile?
Scrum.
Scrum. Okay.
Waterfall.
Waterfall. Okay. We going there?
Software testing. Yeah.
Okay.
Daily team.
Daily stand-ups. Okay.
Software testing.
Okay.
Sprint planning.
Sprint planning. Okay. Anybody else?
Retrospectives.
Retrospectives. Okay. Okay. They went and they gave y'all a little taste of what it looks like. Okay. Good. And then why do we want to do Agile or be Agile, like I like to say? Because you don't do Agile, you are Agile or you're being Agile. So why do you think it's important?
Some MBA tells us to do it, so we do it.
So what? I'm sorry.
Some MBA said we should do it, so we do it.
Elaborate for us, please.
You're a business person and you hire some consultant
Uh-huh.
and they're like, you should do Agile. And you pay them a bunch of money, so you're gonna listen to them and you're gonna tell people to do Agile.
Sounds a little personal. We might have to have a little side chat. Okay.
I think
Anybody else?
the customer center of it, like the testing before pushing on
Yes.
the market.
Cross-functional synergy
Yes.
and integration with the customer upfront and throughout the development to get aligned delivery or service or product delivery consistently.
Yes. So they said two things that I want y'all to really, really own in on. Customer centricity. That is reason 1,000 of why Agile is really important, because it does involve the customer in the actual process, which helps with quality control, which helps with cost saving. Just imagine you building something and you don't talk to your customer or your end user or your client. What do you think is going to happen? Right, right. And then that impacts quality. That impacts the budget, the whole nine, communication constraints, resource constraints. It's a whole domino effect. So I would say that one of the biggest reasons why we want to be Agile is because of that customer centricity approach. Somebody mentioned something about testing and just, you want to be able to say, hey, I'm involved with my customer in the process. And they're able to have a front row seat to actually what you're building. And it's a life cycle, so you rinse and repeat every single time. Any questions about this slide? All right. We're gonna move on to the next slide, please. So we're gonna get into the how, but before we get into the how, I'm just gonna give you a quick recap of this. There's a lot of information on here, but in short, what is Agile? We talk about it being an iterative approach. It's flexible, it's collaborative, and it's also adaptive too as well. That's why, going back to what I said in the beginning, when you hear about the word Agile, there's a lot of mixed feelings about it because he probably had a bad experience, which is why he's saying, well, because you're not forced to do Agile. It's either you want to be Agile or you don't want to do it. There's no in between. And what I love about agility is it's mindset first approach. And the hardest thing for us to do is to convince our customer to change their mindset, which is why it's really difficult. It's really easy. It's easy for us to be Agile, but it's difficult for us to pivot the mindset, which is why you have resistance to change. Because imagine somebody working for a company and they've been operating the same way for 10 years, and you're coming in and you're new. What do you think is going to happen? There's going to be a lot of friction, a lot of back and forth. So I would say the mindset is probably one of the hardest things for people to understand, which is switching this into, okay, I got to be flexible. Okay, let's look at it from this perspective. We had a communication gap. How can we come back and have a conversation and implement something so that we don't have this communication gap? How can we get out of the email chain? I know some of you guys know what I'm talking about. You get those email chains and the back and forth, and it's like, after the second email, we probably should have scheduled a call and had a conversation. And then you're in the email chain for 2 weeks. So those are some of the things that I want you to think about. It is a mindset shift. So some of the things today may seem a little odd because you're used to doing things a certain way, but I want you to kind of re-engineer your mindset a little bit when you hear about the word Agile. So it goes back to 2020 to 2001. And something happened to us in 2020 in COVID. So a lot of people right now are revisiting the Agile Manifesto because when Agile Manifesto was written, they didn't think about COVID. So now the way we do business, the way we communicate with our customers, just different things, we have to adapt and we have to be agile. So a lot of things are changing, how DevOps, software engineering, even project managers, Scrum Master, everything is now shifting. And the biggest thing that right now you'll see in the industry is we have a lot of people in the consultancy space. There's something called Agile consultants now, because you have the roles where you see a Scrum Master / PM, or you see a PM role or Agile project management role. And that's because in the industry, we're trying to figure out what is the best way to keep the ship moving. But the biggest thing that stays constant is flexibility and adaptability. Any questions about this? All right, next slide. All right, so there are 4 main values in Agile, right? So the first one, can somebody read that first one for me? If you can see it. Individuals, interactions over processes and tools. Who can read that first one for me at the bottom?
Consultant alignment. In consultant, fostering open communication and collaboration among team members and clients is crucial for project success.
Okay.
Agile encourages a people-centric approach, enhancing teamwork and client engagement.
Can somebody tell me why is number 1 important? Just from the context that we just shared. Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. No, that's 100% correct. The relationship is the focus. So earlier I talked about going back and forth in email chains. That's a perfect example. We want to get out the email, get on a quick Zoom call, or even schedule a coffee chat to go ahead and get a solution. So we don't let the process and the tools get in the way of our collaboration in a nutshell. So I like his response. So in a nutshell, let's focus on building the relationship. Number 2, working solutions over comprehensive documentation. Who can read the consulting alignment for me for that one?
Consulting alignment, facilitating concepts is principle aligned with the lead or technical results and practical solutions. Agile focus on working solutions allows consultants to really provide their client promptly and efficiently.
Okay. Anybody want to give me why that's important?
It's important because it's consulting driven and focused, so it allows you to have physical results that you're good with and practical solutions along with the people that you're working with.
Yeah, I like that. You said a word that I think we should all say, being solution oriented. That's really it in a nutshell. You want to think about solution versus we have this long documentation. John could have given me a documentation and he's been with an organization for 2 years and I'm coming in new. Things could change. So I can't rely on that documentation only to give me what I need also. So we got to think about solutions. He could have provided a little bit of, probably a lot of context, but it may not make sense because maybe in that current situation, things have changed. Again, going back to COVID, we didn't prepare for that. So that documentation that he has may not be for the current time. So we have to probably think about solutions in that situation. The third one, customer collaboration over contract negotiation. Any volunteers to read this one?
Customer collaboration over contract negotiation, consulting alignment, and consulting client collaboration and paramount. Agile emphasis on ongoing client involvement of Agile seamlessly with the dynamic nature of consulting engagements, ensuring solutions meet evolving client expectations.
Okay.
That's really important, so you don't waste time developing things the client doesn't actually need. Nice.
I would say it also goes to kind of like business requirements, like
Yes.
DER and like
Yes.
test requirements, so like what you're required by the client, to make sure that it's evolving constantly.
Exactly.
So
And time is money. I think she mentioned it really clearly, and he talked about business requirements too. We want to make sure that, again, going back to what I said in the beginning, having that partnership mindset with your customer involving them in the process. It helps with quality control. It reduces a lot of budget constraints because the quicker you can get the customer to say yes and be involved in the process, it reduces your headache and their headache. Everybody's happy. So I would say the biggest thing in this one is a lot of cost savings too, which is why you see things like business agility, being able to scale an idea and taking it from infancy to execution. Just involving the customer in that life cycle saves you a lot of time and money as well. The last one, which is probably one of the hardest things for a lot of people to accept, responding to change over following a plan. Who can tell me why that's difficult? Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. We can plan all day, but shit happens. You know, we didn't plan for COVID. COVID happened, but we still got to do business, right? We can't say, oh, because we're in a crisis or we're in a pandemic, we can't make money. So we got to alter the plan. We got to adapt. We got to be flexible. So I would say this is probably one of the most difficult because you still got companies right now that are like, hey, you got to come into the office. Wait, what? I got to come into the office? But we're still in the middle of a pandemic, technically. And a lot of people right now are looking for that flexibility. So what do you think happens to the companies that don't pivot? People leave. Any questions about any of this four? So memorize these four, and I guarantee you when you hear the word agile, it will start to stick. It will make sense. Take away all the technicalities, all the things that you hear, and focus on these four things because these are the foundation of what agility is in a nutshell. Now, I didn't bore y'all with the 12 principles today because that's going to be a whole other class. But in a nutshell, when you're getting introduced or just wanting to understand the idea of what is agile, these are the four guiding things that you want to focus on. Any questions about them? Because we're going to do an activity after this.
Take a screenshot.
Screenshot, exactly, screenshot it. All righty, next slide. Okay, so this is the fun part. So we're going to apply these values. And we will go back to that screen. But what we're going to do, how many people in here? Okay, so we're going to do this. We're going to use those four values and we're going to break off into groups. Now, once we hit a capacity, you're going to have to go to the next one. So I'm going to go ahead and just kind of give you your stations. Okay, so we'll do one is going to go over here. 2 will go over here. 3 will go in this corner and 4 will come over here. Got it? So it's just a popcorn. So I think I said, am I back on? Yeah. Okay, so you know what? I reset. We'll do 1 over here. We'll do 2 over here. We'll do 3 over here, and then we'll do 4 over here. We'll do that. So really quickly, this should be 10 minutes of your time. It's going to be not painful at all, I promise. And then all we want to do is within the small groups, we're going to go ahead and use those values. So we have 4 values. So we're going to pick one. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. You'll go there and you will come up with a scenario based off of those 4 values. And we're going to repurpose them in real life and how it applies to what your case study is. Got it? Any questions?
Real life scenarios?
Yeah.
Like based on experience?
Based on experience, it can be made up, whatever you want it to be, to apply those 4 values, and then you're going to present them. All right? So with the discussion points that we want to talk about, we'll go into how each group applied the values and all the other fun stuff. Any questions? All right, back to that slide for me, please.
So I think what we should do,
Yes.
your number 1.
Oh, okay. Oh, I like it, John.
1. Say it with 1.
1.
Great.
1, back to 1.
3,
4.
1.
2,
Yeah.
3.
5, 2, 4,
One. All right, good.
All right, so 1 over here,
One to the corner, two.
2's over here, and 3's in that area over there, and then 4's over here. Or could probably just park it over here. Yeah, we got chairs. All right, all right, all
It's
right.
working, but it's not.
Okay.
We need to.
So who wants to volunteer to go first? What volunteer to go first?
Right here, we'll go first.
Go first?
Yeah, we'll go
All
first.
right, so we'll have, just group 4.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get them our ears and go ahead and present.
Okay, I'll start.
Okay.
So I do software engineering, and once upon a time, we adopted the waterfall methodology. And so what that is you develop everything, and then at the end, you check, hey, are these requirements met? And so from there, they kind of adapted to the Agile methodology where, we check the requirements every 2 weeks. And so to hit on the point, trying to change our final plan. Yeah, so we just, we reiterate every other week, and depending on, where we're at in the sprint, we'll change our requirements and adapt to change that way.
Nice, nice. All right. Anybody else want to share over here? We're good? Okay, all right. Round of applause for them. That was really good. And he used for the terminology too? That was cool, that was cool. I wasn't expecting the terminology, but that was good. That was good. Who wants to go next? Over here? Okay.
All right, so we had number 3, customer collaboration over contract negotiation. So
You can come up so we can hear you. You can come up.
oh, come up, okay. So our scenario was working with Apple. And Apple had we contracted for a 20-inch laptop, but we through whatever method, a survey, whatever, we heard some feedback, or they heard some feedback from the customers that 20 inch is too big. So to do our agile approach, we kind of sat down, we discussed the design, pros and cons, we did a visual step by step. And through working with the customer, we kind of came up with maybe the 15-inch. We decided to do 15-inch design. So that was just an example of kind of collaborating over, because initially we said, hey, we're going to do this design, but things changed. So we collaborated and came up with a better design.
Nice, nice. I love it. I love the TV situation. So you guys went with 20 and then you guys changed to 15. Love that. Perfect example. Thank you. Who's next? All right. Cool.
So this is based off of a real life example from my work experience. When I worked with Palo Alto Networks, we had a client meet, and they wanted to move data from Expander, the app we were using, into ServiceNow. When they came to us, they wanted to use the vulnerability response module in ServiceNow. And so when we went through and mapped the fields, because of the Agile methodology, we were able to like communicate with ServiceNow, communicate with BP, and keep partnership with Palo Alto team. We found that the fields they wanted to map from vulnerability response didn't match. So we were able to pivot and switch it to the configuration compliance module, and essentially deliver something they didn't know they needed, like this new app, but it met their requirements better than they thought.
Okay, nice, nice. Like, round of applause for them. Really great. I always love, appreciate when teachers share the real life scenario. So thank you for that. All right, I'll ask you.
All right, so we didn't really have a specific case study that we're assessing, but we're kind of pointing out how that this concept doesn't really apply to coding and technical things. It's more about having an outcome and still having some kind of feedback loop on the outcome that you're driving towards. So instead of spending all this process, building out documentation like you're saying before, can we just start with an idea and move forward and then see if you like it, and then come back and do that.
So iteration. Love that. Round of applause for them. The different studies help you to understand these 4 things. Raise your hand if it helps you to kind of get the concept of what we're talking about here. What did you like about the case study? Anybody?
Apply knowledge providers of real life development.
Okay.
And I thought it was very interesting, collaborative, and I called the audience thing and kind of approach things that way.
Nice, nice. Anybody else want to share what they liked about the case study? Go ahead.
The case that, having 4 groups, it created a sense of collaboration, which is what this really is all about. How you have flexibility, you get a pivot sometimes. There's, like you said, you may start with something in mind, but you've got to be able to iterate away from that in case, just in case this will allow you to find a better solution. So this whole, the whole exercise, I think, was built on this whole notion of collaborating.
Absolutely, absolutely. No, I think you guys did an amazing job. I really, really loved how I was looking around how everybody was really thinking through it, which is really important, and I saw a lot of contribution to the team, which is really, really important. I was hearing different ideas bouncing off, and this is what you would see in an Agile shop. So if you've never worked for an Agile team or in an Agile environment, this is exactly what you will see. You'll see a lot of collaboration. You'll see a lot of ideas being bounced around. You'll see a lot of disagree to agree on things, but there's not a one size fits all. So I'm glad that you guys have the case study. So thank you guys for participating in that. Any questions about the case study? Any questions? Anybody have any more questions about Agile or anything in general?
Where the tools go? That's like software testing. I'm trying to find out where can I find the software. I have a computer, now they're going to use my research for use.
Oh, you're talking about like what kind of tools?
Yeah.
Jira is definitely something you can use. And I know within Jira there's Confluence, there's different tools you can use. There's also Asana. There's so many different tools out there. But as far as like communication tools like Slack, there's Teams, there's so many different things. So I know like each organization is going to be a little bit different.
Okay.
Yeah. Any more questions? Yeah.
So to learn more about Agile or getting like the certification, LinkedIn Learning, or would you recommend?
It just depends on what kind of certification. I know like there's really big organizations out there. There's Agile Alliance, there's Scrum.org, there is you can do a Scrum Master certification, you can do a Product Owner certification, and there's higher level ones too with Scaled Agile. So it just depends on what do you want to get certified in. I think just kind of starting off there and just kind of understanding why you want that certification. Yeah.
Could you talk a little bit about the worth of a certification based on who actually looks at it as valuable?
Give me a little bit more because I feel
So
like
there are several different organizations that if you take 3 hours, you will be Scrum certified in X, Y, and Z, but nobody cares about that cert.
Yes.
So it might not be the best one to get.
Yeah.
Because it says you're Scrum certified, but it's not recognized.
Yes, that's a really good point. So a couple of things about certification. As I mentioned, there are organizations like the Scrum Alliance, Agile.org, Scrum.org. So I would say if you want to get certifications, I would go through an accredited organization like Scrum.org, Agile Alliance, because they'll have partners, they'll have different trainers that are verified that will help you get the certification. And now I think you can get certified online, which is new for me because I've been doing this for 8 years. And when I got my certification, you have to be in person. So now you can actually do classes online. I think it's like 2 days now online. You can do 2 days, and then I think at the end of 2 days, you can then do certification. But it depends on which certification you want in particular. So that was a good question. Any more questions? Okay. So I know we went through the discussion points, and some of the key takeaways that I wanted you all to know is just about the iterative process of agility. We talked about it being flexible, it being adaptive. We went through the case study to kind of give a real life feel of what it would look like. A lot of people are always curious about what does it look like when I work on an Agile team? What do we do on an Agile team? This is pretty much what it's going to look like, where you have a lot of collaboration, you have a lot of meetings, lots of meetings. I'm not going to emphasize on the meetings because we do have a lot of meetings. But there's also an emphasis on just the collaborative approach of having a one team and a one voice mindset, which is kind of why I wanted y'all to go through this case study. A lot of what we talked about today can be also applied not only in a software development environment. If you have a business, you can also implement these things too. I want to definitely stress that for our entrepreneur over there, myself included. I Agile from everything that I do with my business too as well. So you can definitely implement these things to your day-to-day. And also you can implement it in your day-to-day life too as well. So if you're like, hey, in the morning, 15 minutes, I do X, Y, Z every single day. That is a daily stand-up. So you can also implement these things in your day-to-day to make it really, really stick and make it really understandable as well. And the next thing that I want us to talk about is Agile and Brunch, because somebody asked me about that earlier. And Agile and Brunch has been held in Atlanta for the past 2 years. But for year 3, we are going to the DMV.
Woo!
Yes, the DMV. So it's really crazy when you have an idea and now, boom, we are 3 years in. So the whole premise of Agile and Brunch is to celebrate, empower, and to connect practitioners, entrepreneurs, everybody's interested in agility, basically. But it's not a conference. It's more of a social gathering, and we do it the weekend of Juneteenth. So every year we gather to empower, to connect, and just to commune Black excellence in the Agile space. And for me, one of the reasons why I started this, because I mentioned I've been doing this for 8 years, and every time I go to an Agile event, there is lack of representation. It's still happening till today. There's gatekeeping, but there's a lot of opportunities in this space. So when I got on Clubhouse in 2020, 2021, I connected with a lot of Black individuals in this space, which is kind of what led to this event. I was like, wow, like it's really cool having all of these people that do what I do, because most people are like, they're like, you do what? What is that? What is that? So it felt great just meeting other people that understand what my world looks like on a day-to-day basis at work, because most of the time in these teams, I'm the only one, the only person of color. So with Agile and Brunch, we're creating opportunities for people to connect. We'll have recruiters there. John will be there. John is an advisor on the board. So it's just really, really great to see that now we have expanded outside of Atlanta, just to really, really push the mission and vision of Agile and Brunch. So for today, we do have a code for all Technologists of Color members for today.
That's all of you.
That's all of you. So everybody here gets the 15% off discount. And then also we have now activated a Slack community as well. So you don't have to wait until June to connect with other practitioners or even people in tech as well. I think right now in Slack, we are roughly about 40-ish people. So it's fairly new. So I would definitely say scan that QR code, tap in and connect. And you'll meet other people in there. It's growing. One of the biggest things that we want to focus on is getting a lot of recruiters in the Slack community, just to kind of help folks, because one of the biggest challenges that we have right now is how do I go from being certified and getting my foot in? What do I do? So we also have a planning committee that basically is an internship program. I know that we're going to probably be opening up applications for 2025 sometime post Agile and Brunch, because right now we have our planning committee who is committed to planning Agile and Brunch 2024. So we'll do a rinse and repeat. We'll probably start doing interviews sometime in July. So be on the lookout for that. But if you're in the Slack community, you'll get all the information. We have a newsletter. So yeah. Any questions? I know that's a lot of information.
You're gonna want to be in the community.
Yep.
That weekend. Especially hanging with me.
I'm already talking about after party.
You gotta plan ahead.
You got to plan ahead.
You already need by the soccer ground.
In the meeting on Monday, that was what you want to talk about. He's like, what we doing at the after party? So it's going to be lots of fun. Again, I want to emphasize that this is not a conference. We're not going to be doing what we did today, the case study, the workshops, is none of that. It's mostly going to be focusing on panel discussion. We'll have people on the panel. We'll have conversations about what's happening in the industry, but we're going to focus on the connections instead of the practical stuff. So we want this to be very fun. We want it to be very inviting. So I definitely want to make sure that it's an invitation to everybody.
And it will be lasting memories.
So, yeah, that's it. So join the Slack community, scan the QR code, and then also if you scan the QR code, it takes you to the Agile Brunch website too as well to learn more about the event. Any more questions? Yes?
For the event at the DMV, do you have any like special speaker that you're excited about? Or
Yeah, so we're gonna be rolling out our speakers. That's a good question. We're rolling out our speakers probably in March, so follow our Instagram, follow our website. You'll see all the great speakers. John was one of our speakers last year. So we'll always like to have folks that you can relate to. So we'll have people in the product space, people in the engineering space, people in the data analytics space. I'm just trying to think of high-level data governance space. But most of them have some type of agile background. They've done things or projects in that space too as well. So, all right. And you don't scan my shirt too. Thank y'all for your time. I really appreciate y'all. Thank you.